Marcel and Louise. We are going to talk about Class Dojo and some other classroom management apps. I guess I'll start reviewing Class Dojo. I've used Class Dojo before. I like Class Dojo as a new teacher. I've only been teaching for a couple of years, so any kind of help with behavior management works for me. Um, some of the positives are the cute avatars for young students. I think that really draws them in. It's a positive way for them to care about their behavior, and they can get involved in picking them out, which is great. Um, of course, the points, 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 points. They love points. I think that's wonderful. But I don't like that there are negative points. I don't think that taking points away from students is a good idea. Um, but I mean, that's just my own personal philosophy. What else? I think also maybe it's not a good idea to be so heavily reliant on apps and tablets and technology as far as having it in your hand to have to manage the class, because maybe you'll be spending more time figuring it out if you're having problems with the app, or also the kids they always want more points, so then you're spending more time putting the points in. So, and then you could be tempted to check your email now and then, which is not a good thing either. Um, so, I think for younger students in a smaller class size, Class Dojo can work. So,
I would second that in that it's a very limited positive application. Um, I have middle school science classes of 2021 kids, and I agree with Matthew that I think that the what do you call them? The avatar guys are really cute, and that kids will like that, but I think they'll like it so much that we're going to spend a ton of time picking out the avatar, and then they decide they don't like the avatar. Later on, they want to switch it. I just feel like there's so much procedural possibilities, potential with this thing that you're not going to be able to be teaching. You're going to be spending so much time with the app. You're never going to get to your curriculum. And I do worry also about the negative points thing. I feel like, at least for my school, we used to have this check system that where kids got checks if they were bad, and they're really trying to move away from that, and they're doing this new thing called developmental design, which is very much kind of just attacking very specific problems as they arise. Um, and so that negative check or taking away points thing is it's a little bit 20th century pedagogically. And so I feel like, although I'm not saying it doesn't work, because I actually think it does work, but just in terms of mindset, I feel like it's not as au courant. um, and I also feel like, I know my parents will get way too involved in this, and I'm not, as much as I really, really do like to have parents involved. I like to have like a one-on-one email conversation with them, as opposed to this constant like checking their child's um, points. Does that make sense?
definitely.
It does make sense. I believe that for me, this is new, and I think that there are so many redeeming qualities. Great way to document students' behavior, and I love that. Documenting to me is power. There is no added cost, so that's good, and it's in real time. That is very positive. I like the fact that measures individual and collective behavior. That is also very positive, and you can easily customize and make it meet the needs of your classroom. However, in my reality, the Wi-Fi, it will be an issue because I don't have a dependent Wi-Fi, so that will be a minus for me. as well as my children have the tendency to obsess over getting points and winning and the contest component of it. So that I will have to assess how it will work actually in my classroom.
Sure. I mean, I totally agree with you, Grisel, about the competition. When I used it last year, there were times where arguments were started in the middle of class. Kids were tattletelling on each other to try to get other kids points taken away, because I would have a reward system, once they reached a certain amount of points. So it became a kind of a conniving, it almost worked like Facebook or something like that for teenagers, even though these were 6-year-old students. So it's a great idea, I think, but so much of it has to do with how the teacher uses it.
Absolutely, and also it's all about keeping your database in a way that it works for you, but doesn't demand so much time. And I think that one of the things that I also learned is that it doesn't sync with other school management systems. So you cannot have all in-house database, but you have to kind of pick from here and there, which makes it a little more cumbersome in terms of management.
Definitely. Okay, cool. So anything else on Class Dojo, or we're good? Okay. So we also had to learn about and review another classroom management app. Does anyone want to start? Or
I can start, because I did Smart Seat, and I feel like it was it's pretty cool. You on your phone, you get the app, and it's $5, but I actually signed up for it because I actually bought it because I liked it so much. And the one thing that with my middle schoolers that I really think works well is moving them, because it's immediate and you just do it. And the cool thing is, I mean, the thing about moving them is I always forget where they're supposed to be the next class. And they're like, oh, yeah, and they know that. So they're like, yeah, I was here. And the cool thing is you just do it on your phone, and it takes 2 seconds, and you move them, and it's done. And you're not messing around with with the parents, and you're not messing around with these like points. You just do it, and it's done. And then there's a record of it. So I actually really, really liked this Smart Seat for probably elementary and middle school.
So I guess that I will go next. The app that I explored is called Too Noisy Pro. And I love the fact that we are actually getting into an app that will help you with the noise management. I am a kindergarten teacher, and I have 80 kindergartners in my classroom speaking many languages because it's a bilingual school. So it becomes really noisy, more when we're trying to allow other people to understand us as well as understand others. So the good things about Too Noisy Pro is that students visualize and self-monitor the noise level. So I think that is brilliant. Has colorful and fun graphics with a digital noise meter. So basically, if you have a way to expose the image of this meter, they will self-monitor the noise level. And that is a big issue in my classroom because we just get comfortable and the volume goes up. So teachers set an appropriate noise level, and after 15 minutes, if the students manage to keep that noise level, they get a star as a reward. So it's visual and it's engaging. And also has some issues. Occasionally, the daily use kind of invites students to lose interest in it. So then it doesn't become a tool that helps the classroom. Another thing that it took my attention is that children, as we all know, as you get into curriculum and information, they find anything around the classroom to get their attention. So it's distracting as well because the meter keeps moving up and down. So that's one of the minuses too. So Matthew, I don't know if you would like me to look into the other app or you want to add yours and then I go back to it?
It's up to you. If you want to talk about it, that's fine. I mean, yeah.
Okay, the other app that I explore is called Teachers Class Behavior Free. And also is a good app to have because it differentiates between good behavior and bad behavior. Reviews recorder behavior in a daily log, so you can always go back to your log and see the overall picture of how people are behaving in your class from your students. Includes a random student feature which takes the burden or the control of who is going to be called next. So the app will decide which student will get a turn. So it's a fantastic. I think that it has many redeeming qualities as well as Class Dojo. It goes within the similar lines. It has other points that are not so redeeming, such as need of more options for differentiated behavior. I guess that it provides 3 options of behavior, and teachers were annotating that that's not enough. Children need options. And it's also unable to share data unless you log into and so you need password and you need your information in terms of sharing data. And that is very important because, as you know, we all try or strive to collaborate with other teachers, and just sending this information will be very beneficial. And this app doesn't give us that opportunity.
Interesting. I love the idea of the noise monitoring app, though, because I teach similar to you, Grisel. I'm in an English immersion program, so I have 20. Sometimes I have up to 28 Korean 7-year-olds running around at varying English levels. So just having a visual that's not relying on language I think that's a great idea. I'm going to actually check that out for my class.
Absolutely. And you know, just to add, Matt, into it, teachers love to use it occasionally. If you don't do it as a daily way to get their attention, it's very effective.
Okay, definitely something to consider. So for the other app that I checked out, that would be Teacher Kit, which, wow, it's quite an all-encompassing app. It pretty much does everything. You can have as many classes as you'd like, as many students as you like, and it can take attendance for you, and it keeps the attendance as long as you want, you know, a week, a month, semester, whatever you'd like. And with every individual student's record for their attendance, for other things it can do, like seating charts, it actually keeps grades too. It has like an individual profile for each student with their picture, so it's very personal. It can help, you know, teachers maybe who have a lot of students or not the best memory. It can help them remembering names and faces. It also has like a randomization feature as well, which I like Grisel was mentioning with the last app, taking the burden off the teacher to call on students or not call on the same students every time, or vice versa. So that's great. And then the detail in the grading component is pretty amazing. It's up to you. You can put in as many assignments and differentiate between, you know, grades. However you want to do it, A, B, C, you know, D, F, or number grades. It's really, really, really detailed. It has a seating chart, but I think that was my main negative, is that it's not customizable. So whatever the default seating chart is, that's what it's going to look like, even if, you know, it's just in rows. And if you have clusters or U shape or whatever else, it's not going to accommodate for that. And again, I mean, it's similar to Class Dojo. It can be kind of consuming for the teacher, so I think the teacher has to be careful not to spend too much time in class with the app. But it's really user friendly. The layout is great. It's an attractive layout, really nice, not dated, and I think it can really help keep teachers organized. You know, you don't have to keep track of you know, grading sheets, rubrics. You don't need to have a attendance book. You know, it's definitely can help teachers who have trouble staying organized. So I was really impressed with it.
Very good.
These apps, the teacher has to keep the big picture in mind and figure out whether it's too distracting, whether it's becoming too much of a distraction for the kids, which is a huge possibility.
Absolutely. I love the question. The question was posted in a way that it really made me reflect how using these digital tools will be of benefit in a classroom and how they may be a distraction. And that made me think of classroom management as a way to setting the tone or a vibe in a classroom for your students, and the main goal is for us to learn. We all to collaborate, we all to learn, and the tone should be set where children are actually able to learn. And the tools are wonderful. I see so many positive into implementing those tools in a classroom. However, some of them will be used as detriment. Although they are very good, will that add to our vibe in the classroom that will take us to the learning time? And that's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, should we, unless somebody has anything else, Matthew,
No. Okay.
Are we, so we each discussed our own apps, and then I think we were supposed to discuss whether we would recommend Class Dojo at the end. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was going to maybe go ahead with the negative because I thought it was way too much to manage. I think it's way too much potential for distraction. I think it has very limited applicability. And Matthew, you may have found the one sweet spot where it does work, like that very small young class.
Right.
I think is maybe the only place it might work. But otherwise, I think it's too much of a distraction and too much to manage for the teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I used it with up to grade 5 as well, and with them, like with my kindergartners, I had it on the screen at all times, and because there were only 7 of them, at one point there were only 6 of them, and it wasn't that much of a distraction. But with the older students, I tried the same technique at first, and it did not work. So what I ended up doing was at either the beginning or the end of class, I would show them the class chart and add the points from the previous day, and then we would put it away, and that was it. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely it can be incredibly distracting, especially if you have it up on a smart board or up on a TV or on a screen at all times. But
And the whole parent interaction thing with the parents being involved is ostensibly a good idea. It's always a good idea to involve parents, but I don't think that the day-to-day little iteration of these kids' behavior is something, A, that busy parents want to hear because they've got life, and B, that something that they need to hear because it should be something you're working on in the classroom. I mean, I know for my classroom, my parents, they want to hear from me if there's something, serious. They want to hear like an email or a phone call, like a real face-to-face or at least a conversation. They don't want to get these little your child didn't sit in a seat for 3 seconds today. Like that's they would not like that at all.
And go ahead.
I just feel like it's a little bit, the whole negative part of it is very kind of outdated in terms of, you know, classroom management tools. I think the classroom management tools seem to me to be moving towards kids being very much involved and kids feeling empowered. And yes, in a sense, they do feel empowered, but I think they get so involved in the nitty gritty of it that they just lose the whole empowerment sense.
I agree with you, Luis, when you mentioned that parents probably you are teaching middle school, right?
Mm.
They will not be into the same mode as the early childhood parents because I believe, I don't know, Matthew, if that's for you too. I believe that the parents of my children, they do need the feedback and as much as possible, which in a way could be detrimental because they will be confused or alarmed, maybe worry about a lot of feedback. However, I do have a color system it's very simplistic in my classroom, and that's a way to communicate. This is this way that we daily communicate without words, just through colors. And it works really well because they get that need of knowing how your child did today without so much worry.
That's interesting. So you just send them home like your child was on red today or yellow today or whatever color, maybe green and that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
During orientation, we just kind of talk in depth about what the management system is and how it works. And literally, there are 6 colors, so you have choices. And it's amazing how they understand that. I tell them purple is the outstanding color. And I said, I go for weeks where my students do not go to purple because they have to actually, the color should mean something. You should not just give it. However, if they are ready to learn and they are in green, please celebrate your children. They are just ready to learn.
Right. No, absolutely. I think that's so important. Go ahead. Sorry.
The tourism system. Like, you know, like code red and or the air pollution thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think that's so important though, Grisel, that it's like a community management system where you have the administration, the teachers, students, and the parents all in on it together. And I think that's where kind of Class Dojo is lacking. It gives you this really nice tool to say, good job, positive point, bad job, negative point. But then beyond that, they're not really helping you manage your students, really. You know, it's just, it's almost like a shallow evaluation. So.
I agree, 100%. The component of documenting is good though, because it's good to see overall how this child did and how maybe a couple months were very hard for that child for a particular reason, and you can look into that. But if you don't have the macro picture, how will you know?
Absolutely.
We had one of our 5th grade homeroom teachers used it last year, I remember in the beginning of the year, and she gave it up pretty quickly, like within a month, because it was just too much. And I think it was too distracting.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be. Well, I think we're getting kind of close to time here, I think. So I guess we'll say Class Dojo, good idea, really depends on the teacher. Good luck if you try it.
It's a very limited application.
Yeah, definitely.
Under the right conditions, it could work.
Agreed. Okay, awesome. Well, it was really nice hanging out with you too. I'm glad we got it. We finally figured it out as far as the scheduling, and we all got to meet up.
Yeah, thanks for being flexible.
Oh yeah.
Thank you both. Yes, same here.
Thank you.
All right.
Well.
Do you want to stop the recording and then we'll submit?
Yeah. Just one.